Welcome to the Wealthy Business Goddess Show for purpose-driven, passion-fueled spiritual entrepreneurs ready to live their purpose, passion and prosperity as they create the life and business of their dreams whilst transforming the world, doing what they love and making fabulous money. Each week we bring you inspiring and empowering topics, popular thought leaders to empower you to transform all areas of your life and business. With your host, spiritual intuitive, entrepreneur, transformational business coach and mentor, Kimberly Lovell.
Hello, sweethearts. It's Kimberly Lovell here from the Wealthy Business Goddess Show, and I'm so super excited to share with you a wonderful guest today, Shan van der Leek. And Shan is a transformation goddess, a lifelong media expert, published author, celebrated podcaster, and popular voiceover talent. She's the author of Life on Your Terms and co-author of 6 more best-selling books for women. Shan produces the Goddess Talk Sessions global event, the Transformation Goddess, Divine Feminine Spotlight podcast series, and co-hosts the award-winning Anxiety Slayer podcast with almost 4 million listens. Shan loves to teach women to walk in beauty with the strength, courage, and pleasure of reclaiming their feminine sovereignty. So welcome, Shan.
Thank you for inviting me. It's lovely to be with you today, Kimberly. Thank you.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure. So you're going to talk today about how to speak about our truth and to reclaim our feminine sovereignty. I'm super excited to talk about this with you. It's just such a huge topic for women all over the world right now.
It really is, and it's a pleasure to be able to talk about it, because I think that the more that we can step into our power and speak our truth and learn to give ourselves permission to do so, that the happier, more fulfilled life that we'll live, without question.
For sure. So Shan, why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got started on your pathway and what's drawn you to working so closely with the goddess and empowering women?
It's always interesting to answer this question, because I think that I think that becoming a mother is what really changed everything for me. Before I rebirthed myself as a mother, I was a very corporate, masculine, competition-driven, ass-kicking, take no prisoners kind of a person. And so those qualities are still within me, but becoming a mother helped me realize how much I had kicked my divine feminine energies to the curb, and that it was time to repair and revisit and renew and create a better balance between my divine masculine and feminine energies, because they were clearly out of balance. And so to give you an idea of timing, my daughter will be 17 this August. So it's been about 17 years that I've just been allowing myself to receive more messages from my body, more messages from spirit, from soul, and have embraced so many good things and really walk in beauty now every day as much as possible. So I could go on and on, but so that's really where it started, coming from a completely, comparison and contrast. I was a completely different person 17 years ago.
Yeah. And I love that you talked about that you still have that kick-ass part of you. I think that's I'd love to talk a little bit more about that as well, in terms of how we actually integrate the masculine and the feminine energy, because there's a lot of talk about divine feminine, and I think for some people they think of divine feminine as being very soft and very receptive and flowing, and what I'm experiencing more of is a need to also work with the inner masculine energy and work with our boundaries, and as you talk about the kick-ass part of us. So let's get into some juicy conversation and dialogue.
Okay, well, I would love to. I think that in my experience, the first course of action was to really tamp down or push aside or say, okay, you know, that's not where I want to be anymore. I don't want to be this very strong male energy. You know, it's like that phrase where they say, don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. If you've ever heard that before, it was like I pushed all of that aside. Okay, so I'm just going to focus on this soft power and receiving and creativity and all of that. And so I did that, you know, for years. It was like all of a sudden I became a photographer and a painter and a belly dancer and, you know, and this and that and on and yoga and meditation and just wow, right? And then with that experience and with that allowing, and I realized, oh, we have to integrate both. We have to integrate not only our masculine energy, but also the shadow energy. Right now, so many women are faced with, am I going to shine a light on this shadow and get to know her and dance with her and embrace her and accept her, you know, as a part of the whole? Or am I going to continue to be ashamed, be afraid, beat myself up, those kinds of things? So I'm kind of going in multiple pathways there, but I think it's a similar story, is that why on earth would I let go of the qualities that I mastered before becoming a mom, and that I mastered before really deciding to step into the circle and dance with the goddess.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, a lot of people, when they talk about the goddess, they kind of tend to, I know I worked very much with Kuan Yin and Mary Magdalene, Mother Mary energy, which is that very lovely, soft, gentle energy. But I hadn't done a lot of work with, you know, more the dark goddess and Kali, you know. So I'm feeling that really rising up right now, I think, because of what's going on in the collective. But yeah, so it sounds like you coming from the other end of being in corporate and feeling like you were quite in the masculine energy, which I think a lot of women have to be in order to be in the workplace, right? Particularly in corporate.
Right. Well, you know,
so
at least we think we do. I mean, when I looked at how things changed, you know, before I left, I started studying coaching and a different management style than what I had been prior, you know, what I had been doing prior to that. And it really worked. It was a softer power. It was really trusting the team to do what they needed to do, giving them information and leading from a different place. And that felt really good. And understanding that I didn't have to be so serious, that I didn't have to be quite so married to the job in the way that I was, you know. And again, because my daughter was born, she became first priority. So, I mean, it took a while for me to realize, wow, this corporate thing probably isn't going to stick much longer, because I'm unwilling to be that dedicated. I'm unwilling to remain as dedicated as I was before. Still certainly would do a fantastic job, but not have, you know, with an umbilical cord connected to my computer and my phone and to my company, if that makes sense. So and so I appreciate all of the women that came before me in the corporate area, you know, in the corporate arena. I am grateful for the experience, and I'm so grateful to be on the other side of it. But I also get to bring all of what I learned there into my own business, and, you know, to be organized and productive and resourceful and set goals and all of those things in balance with making something beautiful, having these kinds of conversations, allowing for the imperfect part of Shan to flow through and to let go of being the perfectionist and having to have things a certain way. I mean, that's still a challenge for me. I'm still very impatient. I'm still very, that's not quite okay, let it go, because done is better than perfect. Getting it out there is better than whatever I deem perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, that's that whole kind of perfection type thing. And I think as leaders, the old paradigm of leadership was very much about having to be seen as knowing it all and having it all together and not
Oh yeah.
showing any vulnerability.
Yeah.
Whereas now we've got this new, beautiful new paradigm that's emerging where we're able to be vulnerable as leaders.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
And really,
which
there's no other choice for me now to
mm,
be as transparent as I can be. And
yeah,
think about the personalities or the archetypes that you're drawn to. They're not the ones that are covered in Teflon. They're not the ones that are perfect. That they're not. They're the ones who are real and are not afraid to share their trials and to say, hey, I've been there. It's all right. This will pass, and you'll be on to whatever's coming next. Versus, and I'm sure you've seen this, Kimberly, where earn 7 figures in 6 months or less, and all this. And I just shake my head, and I was like, oh, it's just, yeah, it's great. Financial energy, money is a beautiful thing, but that's. Does the emperor really have any clothes? I don't know.
I think some do. Some may
I
do.
think some do. I agree. There are
Some
some
don't.
really great people out there. Well, and I did,
Yeah.
that came off a little bit cynically, but I think now that I've been at this almost 11 years, I have seen the emperors and empresses with no clothes, and I have seen some
Yeah.
really great people doing their work. And I worry
Yeah.
about the new generation coming in going, oh, I want that, I want that, I want that. And when there's so much more, the vulnerability, the transparency, showing up where you are and not having to jump through these flaming
Yeah.
circus hoops.
Yes. Yeah. A lot of the women that I work with, and probably the women that you work with too, right? I think there's that, when we're coming from our heart, the reason why I put, the Wealthy Business Goddess Show together was I wanted to give women an opportunity to look at their relationship with their family, with their soul's purpose, with money, and to kind of look at it in a holistic way.
Right.
Because a lot of people think of wealth as being just about money, and that's not my definition of wealth. But also to be able to heal the split in the collective unconscious between money and spirituality.
Yes.
That's a big part of my purpose, because in order for us to create the change that we want to see in the world, then we need to be able to get our gifts out in the world and to be able to help people. We can't do that with the business if we're not making money. So that split has to be addressed.
I agree.
So, and it's been challenging,
It is challenging, but the thing is, step up and face the challenge, and get the support you need. And if something doesn't feel right, or if you start to partner with somebody who, if it doesn't feel right, it's okay to say no, thank you. It's okay to really follow your intuition, to do your homework, whatever it is that you're trying to do. If you're a brand new business owner, if you're looking to leave the corporate world, if you've been at it for a while and you want to increase your resources and you want to be a magnet for more wealth, all of those things come with honesty and transparency and being able to look at where we're blocked and being able to face some of what we talked about earlier in the conversation, face what's going on, clear whatever blocks that you might have, and do the work, as Byron Katie would say. We've got work to do.
Yeah, always. So you spoke about speaking your truth, and you say speaking your truth without explanation. So can you explain a bit more?
Oh, I have been a truth teller since the moment I was born, and not always to everybody's liking, and even sometimes to my own, shaking my head and going, oh, couldn't you just keep your mouth shut? Not everybody's ready for that. But as a Sagittarian queen, transformation goddess, there's just certain things that just, anyway, speak your truth. So what I said that about no explanations is, for instance, if you're asked to do something, whatever it might be, to speak in this podcast, to bake a couple of dozen cookies for school, to volunteer to do whatever it might be, and it doesn't suit you right now, or it doesn't feel right, you're getting a hit that, no, this isn't for me, but you still say yes, or you say no and go on and give this long description of why you can't do it, and the da, 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 da. You know what? You don't have to do that. You can just say, no, thank you. Thank you for thinking of me, but no, thank you. This isn't going to work out for me right now. You owe no one an explanation beyond that. And I think that that's something that men are much better at than women, if I'm honest. They're much easier at saying, no, that's not going to work for me. And then they've moved on. And we're feeling often like we have to explain. You don't have to explain. Be kind. Say that you can say no. You have permission to say no. If it doesn't feel right, don't do it. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, and I think that, again, for a lot of us growing up, we probably had messages and imprinting around, having to be polite, or having to say yes when you really didn't want to.
Right.
So even as women, we're beginning to kind of like say no, and we're clearer when it's a no. It's, like you say, it's still almost like apologizing.
Right.
For ourselves.
Apologizing, feeling bad, putting yourself in that place of, I really should say yes, but since I'm going to say no, I owe them this explanation. And you just don't owe anyone anything when it comes to that. You need to really dial into, is this going to improve your life and the lives of those you touch? Is this going to cause more stress or joy? I mean, I realize we all need to do things that are not comfortable sometimes, but we certainly don't have to say yes to things that then after we've said yes, we are irritated and moody and maybe, just swearing under our breaths that we have to do this or that. I mean, you've seen that behavior before. I've certainly behaved that way before. You're kind of a martyr about it. I've got to do all of this and that, and then on top of that, and so on and so forth. It's like, no, say no. You get to say no.
Just before we kind of started, we were talking about boundaries, and for me, I think what I've been experiencing more lately is kind of like really being clear on where my boundaries are and tightening my boundaries up.
Right.
And saying no to things that don't work for me. Yeah.
And bravo, because that is huge. And boundaries, I've always been very good at my own, but I've been, I'll use the word guilty, of crashing into other people's boundaries. Because I learned at a young age, and as an only child, that a lot of people didn't have any. So I would just push them. And then if I, and then as you grow older, you realize, oh, wait a minute, that, that's not really a healthy way to be, because yes, you can ask for what you want, but you have to know when to back off, and not when to push, or when to notice that if somebody else doesn't have boundaries, you take advantage of them. You don't, that kind of behavior. Yeah. But for my partner at Anxiety Slayer, Ananga, who also lives in the UK, she tells me all the time, you have the best boundaries. Thank you for teaching me to, to emulate that. And it's important. It's important to create spaciousness in your life. It's important to create what you need in order to feel fulfilled, so that if you're caring for yourself, then you can show up for everyone else that you love. this story is, you hear us say this over and over again. I know, Kimberly, that you're sharing this as well, but it really is true. And so if I know, for instance, today we're going to have this conversation, and as soon as we're done, I'm getting on the treadmill and I'm going to walk for at least 30 minutes, no matter what. Because for the longest time, I put moving my body aside. I love to move my mind. Love to open my heart. Not so much wanting to move my ass. So that's become a priority. And that is now a boundary that is very protected.
And I love that you said no matter what, because that's the real firm boundary, isn't it? Or you draw a line in the sand and that's it.
Yeah, because I used to make excuses, or even earlier this week, I was really tired and I hadn't been on the treadmill yet. Thankfully the weather's switching up, so I'll be able to do more walking outside. But I thought, well, you're tired. You're going to be tired regardless whether you walk or not. So get on the treadmill. And sure enough, I got my walk in and my energy was back afterwards. And that was a gift and an honoring of me, and not a pushing aside of, well, I really need to get this done and that done. And well, like if I write another post, if I do another social media campaign, if I do some more voice work, because I can tend to slip into that workaholic place. I love what I do. It doesn't feel like work. And it's tinkering and it's playing and it's ooh, what about this? And ooh, what does that look like? And maybe I can meet this new woman and so
guilty. but not guilty. It's fun. But
it is fun. It is fun. So be mindful. Be mindful of what you're doing. Be mindful of what you really need. Be mindful of getting lost down the rabbit hole of social media. Be mindful of perfectionism, all of those things, and just be really sweet to yourself.
Yeah, and I think with the boundaries, because I think this is a big one as well for a lot of women. It's about how we create that time for ourselves, because we all got the same amount of time in the day, but actually creating space to do what we love to do and managing our time and prioritizing. So yeah, I love when you talk about the boundaries and no matter what. So it's a commitment.
It is, and the other thing that you might consider if you're watching or listening to us right now is make it really easy to do the things you love. So for instance, I like to paint now, and this is fairly new over the last few years, and I have an area in the living room that just always has the easel and everything set up. I don't have to put it away. I'm not to the point where I have my own studio or anything like that, but I have the space. And I made a commitment that I would keep it as neat as I can, but at the same time, just because who says my easel can't be in the living room? There's natural light. And so if I get the hankering to paint, I can just go paint versus having to take everything out, set up the easel, find the stuff, so on and so forth. Make it easy. And the treadmill is in my laundry room. It's easy. It's always there. It's always set up.
That's an interesting place for it.
I live in a very old home. Well, maybe not home as UK standards, but 100 years old here is a pretty old home.
Yeah.
And so it used to be a galley kitchen. So it's a really nice long space that's the entire width or length of the house. So on one end is the laundry, on the other end is a bunch of storage and stuff, and the perfect spot for that treadmill. Make it easy on yourself.
Yeah, if it works for you, that's good.
Right. And spaciousness too. When you're looking at your calendar, if you're working or if you have your own business, your calendar is full. Make sure that you're creating spaces of nothing, just spaces of nothingness for you to do whatever you need to do, whether it's sit and be still, whether it's take a nap, whether it's take a walk. I don't care what it is. Make sure that you're creating space.
Yeah, and I need to add that no matter what, because I'm a good one for blocking out space, and then sometimes I'll get a call and I'll go, well, okay.
Yes.
And I'll accommodate. And I think as women, we're good at accommodating and giving. So, it's about learning to give to ourselves and learning to be able to receive and be and have that space. So then no matter what, I think I'm going to have to put that on my...
Yeah, I think that's what's coming out of
this conversation
today. Face your challenges no matter what.
I've used it, but it's just really hitting me as we're talking.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. That's a good thing because there was somebody I was watching a while back that when I got back into my active mode, because for me this is a story, a pattern where I am and then I'm not. And I wish I could tell you who she was, but she said, nobody feels like it. So, like when you catch yourself saying, I don't feel like walking, or I don't feel like making a better choice with my nutrition, or I don't feel like, enter the subject matter there, just like, get over it and do it anyway. And I thought, oh, busted. Because generally, I don't do anything I don't feel like. That puts you in kind of a tough spot. Especially if you want to move your butt.
I think I'm a little more the other end of the spectrum, and I tend to put things that I don't want to do. Of course, I do really want to do them, but I don't feel like doing them. And the things that are very left brain that I don't particularly enjoy, that I have to do, I can't outsource. So I would put those things at the beginning of the day, like eat that frog.
Right.
Get it out the way and then it's done. Otherwise, I'll just put it off and not do it.
Yeah, that's really a good reminder. Get the stuff done you don't want to do first, and then you can play. And then you can play. then you're rewarded, right?
Yes.
So that's great. All of this stuff is fairly simple if you think about it. It's just a matter of practice.
That's right, but then implementation is everything, isn't it? There's so much that we know, and sometimes we're not embodying or embracing, or
Right.
Yeah. So tell us about take no shit but do no harm. I can't believe I actually said that, Shan, either. I say that at home, but I don't normally say it from a stage or anywhere. So I kind of part of me really enjoyed saying that, and part of me felt like it was very naughty.
Right, which is why you enjoyed it.
The good girl and the bad girl, right?
I just think it's really, really important for us to identify that we are sovereign beings, that we do not have to put up with any garbage that makes us feel small, that makes us feel afraid, any sort of negative energy that's being shot at us, cannonballed at us, whatever. We don't have to put up with that crap. We just don't. And I know for some people it's easier than others. For me, if you screw around with me, and if there's betrayal, if there's any sort of horsing around like that, I'm done. Like, I have absolutely no time for drama, no time to be treated like crap. I just don't. And so generally what will happen is I will clarify or try to clarify what's happened and say, I'm not sure if you're aware, but when you said X or when you did Y, that really made me feel like crap. And to get more to the bottom of the intention. And generally people will say, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I never intended whatever. But you can tell whether they did or whether they don't. What's important is that you have a voice and that you practice using your voice, even if your voice is trembling, even if you feel like it's the hardest thing in the world to get the words out, because you're worth it. You do not deserve to be treated poorly. And if somebody's treating you poorly, you have permission to speak up and say, hey, that doesn't work for me. And you don't have to do it in a crappy way. You don't have to do it in a big, dramatic way like you see. Like right now, I'm watching my daughter experience some different situations at school with their teenage girls. And so sometimes they're maniacs, you know, with their hormones and their just everything. It's not easy to be a teenager, and so they create sometimes much bigger drama than needs to be created, and cause themselves so much pain and suffering and so much projection of whatever is going on at home or whatever it is that they're dealing with. And so it's been a good teaching, really good teaching for my daughter to be able to ask her questions so she can identify that. And so when she comes home and she's upset with somebody, what do you think might be going on at home for them? Or maybe remember how last week you didn't sleep well and you woke up really grumpy. Maybe they had a bad night, or those kinds of things. So that's the do no harm piece, is certainly give people the benefit of the doubt until they prove you wrong. But at the same, you know, if somebody's coming at you from a really horrifying place, they're projecting their stuff on you. And if you can start to see that and address it and say, no, thank you, you know, that's not okay, and move on. Or if you want to preserve the relationship, you do what you can to preserve the relationship, and then take note, because people are going to show you who they are pretty quickly, but just by the way that they behave. But I think I think more than anything, it's just really important to note that you're worth it. You deserve to be treated very well. You deserve to be treated like a queen. You do. And in order to be treated that way, you need to let people know that you will not be tread upon.
Yeah. So we teach people how to treat us. And often, I think as well, it's that whole mirroring as well, sometimes where we're not honouring or valuing ourselves.
No doubt.
Respecting ourselves.
Right.
And so it shows up in you know, as a mirror for us to see. Yeah. So let's talk about a bit more.
Oh, go ahead.
So let's talk a little bit more about the Queen and how women can step more into the Queen, and what stops us from stepping into the Queen.
I think the first step is surrounding yourself with beautiful things. Right now, the room that I'm in is, you know, I have fresh flowers, I have beautiful paintings and pictures, I have a gorgeous beeswax candle burning, I have, you know, stained glass, all of these things that I love, that I'm surrounded by, that I look at and say, that's very beautiful. So surrounding yourself with beauty, acknowledging that you are perfect just as you are, just as you were created, and holding yourself a little bit higher, sitting up a little bit taller in that knowing. That, again, what we were just talking about, being able to really stand in your power, even if you find it difficult, to protect your boundaries and to let people know that they cannot treat you poorly. The list goes on. What are some of the what are some that I've missed?
I think one of the things that I recognized for myself was about not feeling able to, and this was like on a really unconscious level, but not feeling that I wasn't allowed to have what I wanted. So not being allowed to have what we desire, right? Because maybe, you know, this can come from all kinds of places, can't it? You know, but the imprinting was that you can't have what you want, or you can't always have what you want, you know. And consciously, I was kind of like, okay, I can have it all. I'm going to have it all, right? Because I know it's possible, and in a good way. So I can have it all. But it was like my unconscious was like, no, you can't have it all. You're not allowed to have it all. If you have it all, then somebody else has less.
Yeah, I think that's a wonderful point to bring forward. Is and I like that, and I agree too that you can have it all. You might not be able to have it all at the same time, but But it's always been my nature to think that, well, of course I deserve that. I can have that. Why can't I have, why couldn't I have that? If I work hard, or if I connect with the right person, or if I, but again, I think that that's part of that, that my background. So, okay, set your mark, go after that, and you can have it. But the receiving part, I think, is interesting. When we allow ourselves to receive, when we realize that there are an unlimited amount of resources available to us, and remind ourselves of this, is a big part of being a sovereign queen. No question. My teacher, Lorraine, was talking to me, I don't know when it was, it doesn't really matter. And she just made this comment in passing. She and her husband travel all over the world, and they were getting ready for a new trip to New Zealand. And she was just in passing talking about how they always have all of the resources they ever need to do whatever it is they want to do. And it was just so matter of fact. And I thought, aha, another key, you know?
Yes.
I'm going to tell myself that every single day from here forward, that I have all of the resources that I need, and I am willing to receive them.
Because I think that sometimes, I know I've done this, and I see a lot of other women doing this, it's almost like you have to work hard to get what you want, right? And I think that's another
hard, claw,
sacrifice.
Make it happen. Yeah, that's exhausting.
So, and the other thing that does is because I don't, I've no problem with I'll say no problem with working hard. That was kind of what I grew up with. I think I learned that you have to work hard. I believe more in heart work, doing what we love.
Yes, me
and
too.
Sometimes still that, it's a labor of love, but we do it because we love it, and it's fulfilling for us. There's a different energy around it. But that whole thing of having to work hard, it's almost like you can't have it now, you have to wait for it. And certain things, I believe everything comes in divine timing.
I do too.
But often I think I have put things off because I felt like I can't have them yet. I've got to do this and this and this first, and then I can have that. It's a little bit like you can't have your pudding until you've eaten your main,
Right.
Or you can't have
now you're making me think of Pink Floyd.
No, I talk about food now.
Pudding if you don't eat your meat.
but also, what's the point in having a cake if you can't eat it?
Right.
So you can have your cake and you can eat it, because otherwise, like, why would you bother having the cake?
Right.
Just to look at it.
So funny.
I could never get that.
I love that.
I was like, that's silly, isn't it? But have your cake and eat it, and it's okay.
Yeah, it is
to have
okay.
that.
It's more than okay, because you deserve it, and you don't have to give yourself extra boundaries and extra. I always talk about the flaming circus hoops. You don't, all of that stuff. The way that we self-sabotage ourselves is really interesting, and a lot of it's patterning and ancestral patterning and things that we're not even aware of that happen unconsciously. But once you start paying attention to your own patterns, you can see as they come back up again, and you can address them. And I often laugh with a number of the ladies that I hang out with. We talk about, well, I thought I took care of that. I thought I faced that. I thought I thought that was taken care of. And you just go, ha, ha, ha. No, until it comes back around again. And depending on what you learned is how long that will stick around again, right? And then we just keep working at it and keep addressing it and keep looking at it and keep laughing. I think humor is a big part of being a sovereign queen as well.
Hugely. I think it's vital for survival.
Yeah, it is.
You've got it when you can laugh at it, you don't get so caught up in it.
Right. One of the best lessons I ever learned was to laugh at myself, because I used to take things so friggin' seriously. And I'm great. Another teacher, just another teacher to remind me to find the humor in these situations that I thought were so serious.
Okay, so Shan, tell us what tips that you might have to leave women with. We've spoken a lot about power and speaking our truth and boundaries. Is there anything else that you kind of want to?
Sure. I think it's really important that you begin by addressing that you are worthy to
Mm.
have your own opinions about things, to be able to voice your truth, to be able to step into that place of knowing that it's okay to use your voice. And I realize for some women that's really, really difficult. So I invite you to even begin by using your voice. Perhaps you're going for a drive and you're by yourself and you just practice speaking aloud, or you practice having a conversation out loud that you need to have that might feel a little constraining or a little bit uncomfortable. That even as uncomfortable as it might be, that it's worth it and that it will get easier and that you can
Mm.
share your truth in a loving way. That's important. I think it's
Yeah.
also important to say no without explanation. The next
Mm.
time something comes up and it doesn't feel right for you, say no, thank you, and leave it at that. And then notice how you feel. Initially, you might feel a little uncomfortable. Initially, you might find yourself trying to come up with an explanation or a rationalization, but you don't need one.
Mm.
Another tip would be, please, if you aren't doing so already, surround yourself with beauty. Surround yourself with the
Mm.
things that you love, little bit by little bit, whatever it is, so that you can remember that
Mm.
walking in beauty and, being, oh my gosh, there's so much great and crushing beauty. I'm looking over the computer screen right now outside of this giant pine tree, and
Beautiful.
to notice the pine tree,
Mm.
notice all of this beauty, and let that be a part of your breath. Let that be a part of every move you make. And that if you are struggling with boundaries, if you're struggling really feeling like you're worthy of your own power, start writing about that. Write about, you know, sit down with a pen and paper and write about, today I'm not feeling worthy because, what would make me feel stronger? How can,
Mm.
ask yourself these questions, get still and ask yourself these questions and start to answer them, because chances are there's a story, chances are there's something that's blocked.
Mm.
Talk to someone if you need to, because you deserve to be free. You deserve to be liberated, and we all do. And we're in the midst of this in one way, shape, or form, and we're all walking together, right? So those
Yeah.
are just some of the things that I would recommend.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you. And I love what you're saying there about, that we're walking together. I think that's really important, that we also surround ourselves with other women
We
and,
we must,
sisters
we
and
must. Don't let
yeah.
anyone tell you, uh, in this day and age, don't let anyone tell you, but also remember that there was a reason why the women were kept apart back in the day. We're
Uh-huh.
awfully brilliant, we're awfully creative, and we do hold up half the world. And so it's time to
Mhm.
find and attract and be with other women and share your
Mm.
stories and be transparent and allow yourself
Yeah.
to fall apart. Find a woman's circle where you can just be who you are, show up where you are, find a good facilitator. Remember that that this is not about judgment. This is about
Mhm.
acceptance and love and kindness and healing, and it's so worth it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Shan. You've given us so many little jewels of wisdom there. You have a beautiful free gift that you're offering. Do you
I
want to tell
do.
us about that?
Sure, I'd love to. It's
Yeah.
the Transformation Goddess album, and it's voiced by me and with music by my partner Ananga, who's an incredible musician. And it is guided relaxations for women who do too much. So you'll find a nice,
I
we
like
all
us.
need this. We all need this. And you can get it very easily by visiting transformationgoddess.com. And there's an entry form right at the top of the website, and enjoy it. We've had a lot of great feedback, and I think you'll really love it.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. So, thank you everybody for joining us. I would invite you to reflect on what's been coming up for you. As Shan and I have been talking, there's lots of nuggets there for you to take away. So what are you going to implement? What changes can you make so that you can step into your sovereignty and to be all that you are and all that you're becoming, and walk in beauty, as Shan said. Yeah. So until we meet again, much love and bye for now.
Bye.
You've been listening to the Wealthy Business Goddess Show. If you've enjoyed the show, subscribe and review our podcast. Sign up to receive your Wealthy Business Goddess resources and join us in the Wealthy Business Goddess community at www.lovekimberly.com/WBG. To find out more about how Kimberly can support you in creating the life and business of your dreams, or to watch the show via video, visit the website at www.kimberlylovell.com.